I don't know how it all plays out, Chris, but I live in Delray Beach, Florida. I live on a golf course, and today it's going to be 80 degrees. But let's say July when I'm here and it's 95 degrees at 1 in the afternoon. Um, if I woke up to 4 feet of snow on the first tee box in my backyard here, I wouldn't call my sister who still lives in Minnesota and tell her to send me my snowmobiles that are in her garage because I would know it's an anomaly, probably be melted by noon. In every respect of the word, what's happening on COMEX and the LBMA, from someone who's been doing this for 35 years, it is the biggest anomaly I've ever seen. So something very big is happening with gold. And I don't think that there's a private investor who's standing for $4 billion in delivery. I think that's our government. I think Trump is lying about the tariffs. I think this is his cover to reshore all of this gold. And we are moving into a new system, as Zoltan Pozar says, Bretton Woods 3, one that will be about transparency like blockchain and commodities. You're already seeing Elon say, let's put all the debt and the spending to this wasteful fraud. Let's put it all on a blockchain so that never happens again. Well, you can put our treasury market on the blockchain. You can put our gold holdings on the blockchain. You can make that immutable and transparent and peg it to gold, redeemable in gold. And what do you know? Zoltan is right. A new system backed by gold, going back to some form of a gold standard, not redeemable like Roosevelt did, where a $20 gold coin and a $20 gold certificate you're paying with gold. No, the first step would be to peg it to the treasury market and go from there. And I believe that's where we're going, because after all, gold is the only other tier one reserve asset by central bank standards on par with US Treasury. So yeah, something's going on, dude. I don't know what it is, but something's going on.
Well, okay, you've been in the market more longer than anybody I know, actually moving bullion, paying attention to all of it. When did these countries start buying? Because I was making videos 2 or 3 years ago. China's buying this much gold. India's buying this much gold. There's a new bullion exchange in India, the new one in China, and this big news rolling out about gold that seemed to have very little effect on price. Did this happen in the 80s? Do you remember news like
Well, I
this
mean,
coming out?
China is one of the largest, probably the largest actually, producer of gold in the world, and they've been mining gold uneconomically for years with our trade imbalance. But you have to remember, you go back to the 80s and before, countries like China were borderline third world, and they did not have the ability to do what they're doing now. These countries have become very, in a globalized world, very, very wealthy, very sophisticated, and so I would say if we go back to like 2000 in particular, we start to see things speed up in terms of China, anyways, accumulating gold. But the first time I really noticed the central banks making a overt drive to accumulate metal started in 2017. All the central banks, not just China. So, I think that there was central bank accumulation, but nowhere near like what it's been lately. In fact, for a long period of time, many of the central banks sold gold and did all they could to keep it suppressed, because gold is the kryptonite to the financial system. It is the antithesis of the Western paper system. So yeah, I mean, I don't think
2017 is a really odd year for anything to come out that would push people into gold, because I believe that was the year the white paper came out about the coronavirus.
Yeah, well, it's also the year that Bitcoin started taking off too, and so the retail public
Sure.
wasn't buying any gold, and hardly at all.
Can
In
we
fact,
talk about that just for a
yeah,
second? The retail public not buying gold. So it seems like, hey, everything's good. Don't Gold is for people that live under a rock, and they're doomsday people. And look over here. Look at the stock market. Look at all this other stuff you could be buying. During this time, people have just flat been talked out of holding precious metals. It's really strange. And as people wake up every day, we get new people waking up to it. As this is happening, they're starting to make these major moves. All of a sudden, countries are buying. It was record numbers. Every country was buying a record number, and it was different times. And now we're actually going to audit Fort Knox. I mean, this could really be a humongous deal. Shorting the paper derivatives market. GLD and these banks manipulation that might be coming to an end. That's hard for me to believe. But
I think it might be.
I'd like to talk to the people that are saying, you've been saying this for 30 years. I hear that kind of stuff all the time. It's like, man, I don't know what to tell you other than.
Well, look, I mean, let's go back 25 years. Gold has not only doubled the performance of the 10-year treasury, it's beat the S&P 500 with dividends reinvested. It's averaged 9.9% per year compounding since 2000, and the S&P 500 9.6. It's the tortoise, not the hare. It was up 30% last year. Beat everything traditional. It's up considerably this year. It's beating everything traditional. The problem is that, for the last several years, there's this culture where, instant gratification is not fast enough for a lot of the public. You didn't get to be as strong as you are with those weights behind you by working out really hard the day after New Year's Eve. Once. It's repetitive. It's the laws of compounding, of effort, of time, and the same thing is true here. That at a 9.9% compounding return year over year, gold's up. In 2002, gold was $252 an ounce, and here it is at $2,900. It has, despite the suppression, outperformed just about everything. And the thing of it is that the suppression is changing. I mean, this rapid repatriation of gold to me suggests a real shift towards monetization of gold, remonetization of it, and a gold-backed trade system emerging. I mean, I really do believe that. We've never seen this before, never. And in a world where countries are beginning to favor gold over the U.S. Treasury, I think Trump is smart enough to understand that. So to those people who say, you've been saying this, yeah, I'd rather be 2 decades.
Well, your answer should be, I was right.
Yeah, well, I am right.
I mean,
and I would rather be early than late. But look, this is a high stakes game, and a very high stakes game. You're talking about world reserve status, world supremacy, etc. It shouldn't happen overnight until it does happen overnight. And all I can tell you, Chris, honest to God, whatever is happening is so far outside the realm of what I've ever seen. It's impossible to explain it away as just being tariffs. And quite to the contrary, I think Trump understands that something significant needs to be done. Either that or you just outright default or outright hyperinflate. And I don't think he wants to do that.
I want to touch on that just for a second.
Yeah.
The inflation. We actually had a question. Stacey brought it to me a while ago. Said Andy said in his last interview that if Trump revalues gold, then that would be an inflationary for the dollar.
Yes.
My question is, why would this be inflationary? Wouldn't making gold more valuable in dollar terms strengthen the value of the dollar?
Because it will weaken the dollar tremendously.
Right.
Because things don't rise or fall arbitrarily. If the price of gold were revalued to $10,000 an ounce, that would then mean that the dollar has gotten wickedly devalued against gold, the main barometer. And so that would be very inflationary, and it would create a tremendous amount of inflation and devalue the dollar tremendously. But there is no way out of this debt spiral without dealing with it. You can hyperinflate, you can default, or you can revalue gold, which at least gets our balance sheet back on proper footing, which then at least allows us to continue to sell our treasuries, deal with interest rates. But in the meantime, no, you would see a massive inflation. You would see a spike in interest rates. It would be very dirty. I look at it as, like I said, the Shawshank Redemption. Andy Dufresne had to crawl through 2 miles of shit to get to the other end. And, for someone who's got 3 kids, I am optimistic for the first time in a very long time that there is at least something to look forward to in the future for our kids with the changes that he's making. But the fiscal irresponsibility and the damage that has been done through 3 decades nearly of suppressed interest rates, which created huge distortions in asset prices across the entire financial spectrum, that has to be dealt with, as does the record indebtedness that has to be dealt with. But by devaluing the dollar tremendously in regards to gold, it would be a very it would be a big inflationary event, something that's probably unavoidable at this point without outright default.
It's baked in, right? There's no get out of jail free. Everybody gets to pay for what they do, even if we didn't do it. The people that are in charge did, and there's going to be hell to pay somehow. I can't imagine it. It's coming. It's starting to be obvious. Guys, if you're interested in holding your own precious metals delivered to your door, this is Stacey, my wife, her number. You can call her and she will get the price list so you can shop around for yourself. I've done business with Miles Franklin because they had competitive prices. The service was good and they did the right thing, even if it was not in their favor. This is something I've done way before the YouTube channel. Quick shout out for Stacey. And I want to thank Mr. Andy Schectman for coming on and spending his valuable time. That's our most valuable asset, even more valuable than gold.
Well, I always tell you,
thanks,
I'd love to
brother.
come on more often, Chris. I like what you're doing. And I know you got other guests and you're busy doing your own show, but there's a lot of things happening and I'm happy to come on anytime and lend a hand if needed.
Absolutely, brother. Well, thank you. And for everybody, have an awesome, awesome day. We'll see you in the next one.
Stay well, y'all.